Welcome to the Popcorn Wine Down with Tammy and Eddie. Grab your popcorn, pour yourself a glass of wine, and come hang out with us as we discuss the latest in movies, TV, and music.
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Popcorn Wine Down. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
And on this episode, we will be reviewing Tammy's movie of the year, Wonder Woman. I have a question though. Is that movie of the year for 2020 or movie of the year for 2021?
It would be movie of the year for 2020.
Okay, just checking. But before we get to all that, let's get to the wind down. So Tammy, have you heard Ray Fisher has dropped out of playing Cyborg in the Justice League films because of all the drama associated with Justice League that he went through with Joss Whedon. So he was supposed to be in the he was supposed to play Cyborg in the long-awaited Flash movie, but I don't know if he's going to do that. And I haven't heard
they're going to. He's not.
Yeah, I haven't heard if they're going to recast Cyborg or what they're going to do. They would probably have to recast, I'm thinking.
They need to just let that character go for now.
You think it's too toxic, too much, or
no?
Too much
it's not that it's too toxic. It's that I feel like DC needs to really sit down and figure out an honest plan of the future of DC films, and I don't think they've really done that. They're going for like big productions, but there's no like real concept coming through on this. So with all the controversy that goes into this, maybe, kind of put that character to the side for right now and choose a different character, like maybe Green Lantern, that you can put into the movies that were a character that was part of Justice League as well. But, just my thought.
Well, they did release their film plan. They have a pretty aggressive plan, film release over the next 5 years, I believe. They're going to do their major films, release their major films in the theaters, and then their lesser known films they're going to release on HBO Max. So I guess kind of like a Disney Plus thing, although I don't think they do have some television shows like Doom Patrol and the Titans, which I absolutely love, the Titans, that are going to be on HBO Max, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I really did like the character and Cyborg, so I hope that they do eventually recast. But we'll just see. They do need to they do need to clean up their act though, and get rid of the toxicity around that whole thing, that whole issue. Maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League cut will be, or Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. Maybe that would be a palate cleanser, just kind of wipe the slate clean. Hopefully, maybe we'll see. It's supposed to be rated R, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, I'm actually excited because it's 4 parts, right? And Snyder's saying that they're going to release it in theater as well as on HBO Max. I'm really, really excited to see, because when you told me that he basically had the whole movie done and then Joss Whedon came in and redid the whole movie, and the shit show that we got with the Justice League that went into theater, I'm excited to see if Snyder's mindset of the direction that he wanted to take Justice League in, how much better it was than Joss Whedon's. So yeah, definitely can't wait for that.
Well, he tried to take the high road. He really did. He just kind of, he just let them know that it really wasn't his film from the beginning, that it was a lot different than his vision. And then more and more as the film got panned, and he was like, yeah, that wasn't my movie. And, especially it seemed like more I guess they'd announced either right around the time that Ray Fisher had come out with his allegations or a little bit after. Josh, he finally was like, "Fuck this! I want to release my own. I want to release my movie." So, what we're gonna get is going to be pretty much the movie. 4 parts lets you know that he had a lot of film, but he also reshot some of it during quarantine. So he got Ben Affleck and them to come in and shoot some of the scenes for him during quarantine. So I'm actually looking forward to it. And people have been calling for this forever, like since Justice League came out. When was that? 2016, 2017, somewhere around there?
Long time ago.
Yeah, so we'll see. And speaking of DC films, Wonder Woman, it did its job for HBO Max. It was a big moneymaker for HBO Max. So we'll see what's going to happen. As I just stated, DC has a plan to release some of its lesser known films, maybe The Green Lantern, on HBO Max or what have you. That to me is the catch-22. I'm glad Wonder Woman was successful, obviously. But I really hope that what Warner Brothers, DC, what they're doing with HBO Max, I really, really, really hope that they stick to their word. And this is just a pandemic thing, because this could be the death knell to movie theaters. And you know how I feel about the movies and going to the theaters and all that. So we'll see. Desperate times call for desperate action. And in other news over the break, it came out that FKA Twigs, British soul singer, she dated Shia LaBeouf a while back, and she has accused him of abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, and that was a pretty big deal. Shia has had some problems in the past. His abuse issues have not been, they weren't secret, but most people thought that they were just due to the fact that he had some substance abuse problems. And they thought that once, he got clean, that those issues would be taken care of. But when they met, he had apparently been through rehab, and this was after he had seemed to have tackled his substance abuse issues. So we will see. The last I heard about this story, he was in a rehab or a clinic or something for domestic abusers.
The naivety of the world I feel that substance abuse only brings forth the worst traits of our personality. And when we cure our substance abuse, that does not always necessarily gonna eliminate all the bad things that happen when you were under the influence. Like, that's not an excuse. That's definitely not an excuse. So I hope he does get better. I really do. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sorry. I'm just not surprised, and I'm not going to pretend to be.
No, when I read the story, or the stories, I wasn't surprised either. I applaud her for
coming forward.
Especially considering they're not together anymore. They haven't been together for a little while, but it takes time for you to figure out what you're going to do. And some people are like, well, why is she bringing this up now? And she has the right to bring it up whenever she wants to bring it up. And it may have taken her some time to deal with it, and this may be what she needs in order to move on. So, whether she never spoken about it or whether she chose to speak about it, which she did, I applaud her. I'm interested to see where the case goes. It's a civil suit, I guess, because maybe the statute of limitations or whatever had passed on the criminal part of it, but we'll see what happens. So, I support FK Twigs, and I do hope that he gets better. But Olivia Wilde came out and supported her, and the director of the film that they met on also came out and voiced her support for her. So, like I said, he's had a history of this, and it just kind of makes you skeptical about dating him in the future. Like you said, substance abuse, it does tend to bring out the worst in our personality and our traits. So,
yeah.
I hope that he gets the help that he needs in either way.
On a more, I guess, lighter note, I guess this would be a lighter note. I feel like almost every single show there's some depressing news in the media on that level. So every year on January 1st, certain relationships are always revealed of people who don't want people to know that they're dating. And so I guess I want to say a gossip website called Dispatch has revealed that two of the top actor and actresses of South Korea finally had to come out and acknowledge the fact that they've been dating for almost a year. And that is Yeon Bin and Sun Yi Jin. And Sun Yi Jin, actually, she's going to be in her first English-speaking American movie this year. She was filming in California during the pandemic. So I'm excited to see that come out. But it has come out that they were dating and they were going to deny it. And then they just said, no, let's just acknowledge the fact that, yeah, we're in a relationship and it's going really well. And hopefully it survives all of the drama that South Korean netizens, I guess they would be called, how critical they are of their celebrities and the news that comes from them. So I'm really excited. I love them because they were both in one of my favorite shows of 2020 called Crash Landing on You. So that did make me really excited to hear that they are dating because their chemistry was amazing. So just want to bring that lightness up.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, the South Korean fans are, I thought our fans were a bit much, but they
on another level.
We have nothing. They are on another level. It's like, and you know, they want you to date. They put. I don't get it. They'll put all these fantasies together in their head, and they'll be like, "Oh, they're a cute couple. They should."
But
date.
they don't actually want it to happen.
Yeah, as soon as they find out they're dating, it's like, what the hell? Like, they'll always say, oh, this member of this group should date this member, or this member should date, he deserves a good girlfriend. And then as soon as they find out that so-and-so has a girlfriend, it's like, what the? And I'm like, well, you just said.
But it's the fantasy of that, but then it's kind of like they still have to live in a fantasy that there's always a possibility that they could be the one to date. And I'm just like, they're celebrities. Yeah, that possibility is dead on arrival. So just give that up. But I kind of understand in order to keep the fantasy alive, because that's how their industry works, that they can't reveal when they're dating because it just takes attention away from their job, I guess, of acting or singing or being a model or whatever, their celebrity comes from. It takes attention away from that. So, but yeah, it's crazy how vicious they can be, definitely.
I just wouldn't want to admit it just because, I guess I'm just that type of private person who I just wouldn't want it to be out there anyway, just because I really enjoy my privacy. But, that's just me. Anyway, speaking of Korea and one of our favorite groups, TXT, they are going to release their first full-length Japanese album called Still Dreaming next month in February. So I'm looking forward to that. I think they're going to have 2 new original Japanese songs, and then they are going to redo some of their other hits in Japanese. And one of the songs that they're going to do, called Force, which is an original song, is also going to be featured in a Japanese drama. So, big things already coming up on the horizon for TXT, the youngsters out there still making a name for themselves. Tomorrow by together. I know, I was just calling TXT. I'm like, that name is too long. But yeah, so we will see. I'm interested. I want to hear how they sound in Japanese. Not like I can.
They performed already in Japanese.
I haven't paid attention.
They did Blue Hour. They did Blue Hour. They did a performance for the Japanese holiday show. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah. You know what? FNS. And I did see that. And like I said, I didn't pay attention because I didn't even realize that. It didn't dawn on me at the moment that it was in Japanese. Yeah. I was just like,
I knew it was just because I listened to BTS album. And so you can recognize and also because, you know, I watch so much K-dramas, you can recognize the differences in the words that they use. Like some words are similar and some words are very different. It's kind of like when you watch something in Spanish and French and Italian, and then some words are similar, some words are different. So, but I was just like, wait a minute. I was like, that's not the lyrics. Like, and I'm like, I don't speak Korean, but I know like how the lyrics sound. And I was like, that's not the lyrics. Like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, this is Japanese. Okay. And so, yeah.
I think when I go back and pay attention, I'll realize it. Because when I listen to BTS's album in Japanese, and then I know the difference. Like, I know it when I listen, but when I watched it, I really was not paying attention. I was just like, oh, okay, Blue Hour. And I was like, Blue Hour. And that was it, you know, so. And then we have something special, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And, you know, but I'll have to go back and pay attention to it, I'm sure.
And then also, SM, the entertainment company SM, has broken some online concert records. They had a family concert, and just that family concert just means that all of their artists under their SM Entertainment label performed in this huge concert. It was about 4 hours long on New Year's Day, and 38.5 million people viewed it all over the world. That's the most that they've seen. So congratulations to SM. And from what I saw, I really, really enjoyed the performances that I actually did get to see from the SM Entertainment Group. So congratulations on breaking that record. Good job.
I'm gonna have to say I did too, and I'm gonna go on a limb and say that either the concert started late or it was longer than 4 hours, because when I started watching, I tuned in after the Justin Bieber New Year's Eve concert, which was good, by the way. He did a great job. For it to be one of his first solo shows in a while, he did good. And he ended a little bit after midnight our time. And I remembered, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch the SM thing. And I was watching it, and I watched it for about 2 hours. And I was like, and when I had started watching it, it was supposed to have been on for 2 hours. So I'm going to say that thing was longer than 4 hours. And when I went to bed, it was still going on.
Okay. Well, that's even better to have like, you know, hours long
either
concert that's good from beginning to end is really great.
Yeah. So either they started late, or
it could be I got the time wrong. Like, I don't think they started late. I just got the time wrong. It's probably more than 4 hours because I didn't watch the whole thing. I periodically viewed it and then I went to sleep because it was late for us. Yeah. But so it probably is longer.
It was long, but I did enjoy what I saw. You know, I got to see some of my favorite groups and some groups that I hadn't even heard of, and then some groups that should probably hang it up. We all have those, but it kind of reminded me of like our group, so I'm thinking, oh, they should hang it up. But yeah, I did. And of course, you know, I got to see Lucas perform, which I just, you know, he's one of my favorites. So I'm a fan of Kai too, so it was cool seeing Super M perform as well. I didn't see EXO. Gosh, like when I watched, I didn't really get to see, like when I watched, it was NCT, some of the older groups, Super M, one of the girl groups, maybe it was aespa. Is that their newest girl group?
Just came out.
Okay. I saw aespa, and I will say, now you did say something when we were talking about earlier that it was better than the Big Hit show, and one of my things about G-Friend, I remember when we were watching Big Hit, we talked about G-Friend. They were lifeless as fuck, and so when I was looking at aespa, I'm like, wow. So maybe G-Friend was just having a bad night or something. But I was just like, okay. Just a comparison between the two groups as far as their performance, and it was like apples and oranges. It was night and day. It was like, okay. But anyway, that was just my thought on that. So that does it for this episode of The Wind Down. Stay tuned and we will get into Tammy's movie. I'm never going to let her live this down, so I'm just going to keep saying it. Tammy's movie of the year for 2020, Wonder Woman.
All right. See y'all when we come back. Discover more in movies, TV, and music at thepopcornwinddown.com.
All right, and this week we are talking about Tammy's movie of the year. And we're going to see if she actually holds true to that. Wonder Woman 1984. So this is the sequel to the 2017 hit, and it picks up in the year 1984. And this time, our heroine is fighting against something more ominous than her evil Amazonian godfather turned Nazi. She's fighting against desire/greed. Which I thought was kind of an interesting battle to pick, an interesting evil or big bad. We'll see how it plays out. So, Tammy, what did you think of your movie of the year?
I liked it the second time around. I will just say, first of all, I don't like the shade that you tried to throw my way with that intro. I don't appreciate that. Wonder Woman will always be number one to me.
How was it shady? Did you or did you not select this movie?
I did, but it was the tone of your voice. It was the tone of your voice.
Before we even saw it.
You're right. And I still don't regret my choice. I don't. It's Wonder Woman. Everybody knows I absolutely love Wonder Woman. It's only natural that I would choose her as my number one movie. But I did. I actually, the first time I enjoyed it. I liked it. There were some things that I wasn't a fan of. Granted, one thing was the decade that they chose. Even though I was born in that decade, it's not really my thing. But the second time I watched it, and the third time, like when I was rewinding and going over certain scenes, I enjoyed it more. So I feel like it's going to be one of those movies where the more I watch it, the more I'm going to like it. And the more I'm going to enjoy it. So overall, I enjoyed it. What did you think?
I did. It was a lot. I'm gonna be honest. The first time I watched it, I was really kind of tired, so I probably shouldn't have watched it then. I didn't dislike it, but it was different. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Even the second time, there's some things that I picked up on that I'm not going to say slept through because I didn't fall asleep, but I really was tired. It wasn't as good as the first one. I don't know if it lived up for me to all the hype of the reviews that I had seen before. But it was good, and apparently it did well enough overseas, because we know the U.S. box office numbers are trash right now, for them to fast track a sequel. So they are already fast tracking or working on pre-production, getting everything ready behind the scenes for Wonder Woman 3, which I know you'll be excited about. So, I was a fan of the decade. You know, I love 80s music. I kind of like going back to 80s pop culture, the movies, the John Hughes movies and all of that. They did a lot better job. You can curate 80s fashion. It looks a lot better than just going back and watching something from the 80s and seeing the bad 80s fashion. But that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, is when she was showing Steve about the 80s and he was trying to get dressed and all that kind of stuff and figure out his outfit and all. But I thought her wardrobe was amazing. Especially.
Yes. I put that down. I said one of my favorite things about the movie was Diana's fashion. Like, that woman looks good in everything.
I loved it, and I really loved that white dress that she wore to that.
When she got out of the car ball, and her leg was showing with that split, I said, "Go ahead, girl, get it."
So I loved her 80s. I loved it. I loved the way, I loved her style. I loved her sense of style. And I even liked it in Batman versus Superman. She's all, that's one thing. She's always had impeccable style. Whoever the stylist is for these movies, and specifically who's styling Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, you are spot on.
Yes.
A+. But so I was more excited about the decade once I saw the movie, because when I first heard it was going back to the 80s and they were tackling greed, and I'm like, and they say the 80s were the height of capitalism and greed, and kind of were the foundation for us getting to where we are now. And I'm like, okay, how are they going to do this? So it was interesting. And I liked how it made her fallible too, because she even succumbed to it for a little bit to her own desires, and how our desires can turn into greed, and how it can make us greedy, and how she nearly sacrificed everything to keep what she wanted. And, but it was interesting. I love Pedro Pascal. I don't know.
I hated him.
I love him as an actor. I don't know how I feel about his character.
He was horrible.
I think he was a little too cartoonish, if I want to say, if that's right. But I think they could have done something. I understand the concept, and I love, like I said, I love the concept of how they tackled it, or how they made him. I love the way that they made it the big bat, that little rock, and how they humanized it, I guess. And I like the concept of that. I don't know if I love the way that they carried it out, if that makes sense.
I think his character was the one character I did not like in the whole movie. It was not a character that I could feel sympathy for. It wasn't believable to me, on him going through all of this, and then all of a sudden the love that he has for his son saves the world. And it didn't fly for me. It didn't. That idea was just, it was so blind. Like, he was blind, he was boring, and he was not. It was just blah.
because it's like, okay, well, if you loved your son, if you really, and I think you get it to where he just got corrupted by the wish, and he got blinded by it. But even in the beginning, before he became all corrupted by it, before he got the stone, his son always seemed like an afterthought, because the first time his son came to visit him, he was like, "What? It's my weekend again?" And it's like they really,
over it every time that Alistair showed up. That was what he would say.
And
hey! And I'm just like, you really don't want that kid around you, do you?
And so it's just like, and this was the first time was even before he got the stone. So it's like he's always had that in him, to where he was not a very good parent, and he used his son as an excuse to justify what he was doing, to try to say he was doing it for his son, but he wasn't, because at one point his son just said, "I just want you to be better," or "stop," or whatever. And he's like, "No, you can't use your wish like that."
Oh, he said, "I just want to be with you," and he said no. Like, yeah. That's what, so at the end, when it comes down to him denouncing his wish in order to save his son, it just wasn't believable to me, because there was no showing of a bond between him and his son throughout the whole movie, enough that you would think that he would denounce his wish of granting all wishes and being all powerful just to save his son. It was the least believable part of the movie. Another thing is, and this is kind of like off the radar, I guess, like nobody's really going to focus on this. But the president at the time was Reagan, right?
In the 80s, okay. Yeah.
So it's Reagan. He goes to the president and he asks him, "What's your wish?" And you're going to wish for more nuclear weapons instead of wishing for the destruction of the Soviet Union? Like, how smart of a dude were you? I'm told he's supposed to be one of, our great presidents, and that would be the wish that y'all made him do in the movie, was for more nuclear weapons? That was so stupid.
Well, the president, they rarely have it, unless it's a historical drama. They rarely have the president be,
I know.
It's supposed to be at the time.
I guess it's the history, person in me,
but on a whole different scale, Reagan actually, if anyone actually did an honest pillback of the Reagan presidency, it was a disaster. The beginning of the Republican disaster for presidents. But again, this is not,
Eddie.
And I know that's Republican blasphemy, but again, this is not a political show. But whenever we do that one show, whenever we do that special about politics and history, I'll nerd out on you about that. And I'm so sorry for those of you who think Reagan is the end all to be all.
Oh my God, cut that out. I'm so
But since we're talking about the 80s, since we're talking about the 80s, you brought it up. I was doing
it. Okay.
I'm nerding out.
That's gonna be a moment for 2021.
But so yeah, I thought, but you know what? Just considering the time, because they did a good job in the first one about the history with the Nazis in World War II, and about even though it was fanatical and and the fantasy of it, they did a good job of sticking to that as much as possible. So with you, on that sense, I do agree. Just given everything that was going on in the 80s, we were at the height of the Cold War, or the climax of the Cold War, where it's kind of slowly but surely, we're about 5 or 6 years before it ends.
Yeah.
Then it should have been the destruction of the Soviet Union or something more plausible.
But I understand why it ended up being what it was, because it went with the theme of the movie. I get it. It's just, I guess the history person in me is just like, come on now, like that would not be it. But anyway, I'm sorry. Like, I went fully off track with that. That just one scene, that was the one scene, I think really, really bothered me, which was such a small scene, but I was just like, oh, please. Like, I even told my sister that. I was just like, that would not happen, but okay.
But, and so it was just, his character, you didn't understand his motivation, because here's my thing, and I guess since we are dealing with a wannabe megalomaniac right now, what good is, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, but what good is having all the power in the world if there's not a fucking world to rule? And that's what he didn't realize. It's like, okay, you're literally destroying the world. So what is there going to be for you to rule over? Do they not think about that?
No, that wasn't even in his head. He just wanted more and more. He was just, his mind was just gone by then.
Isn't that rule number 1 of the megalomaniac handbook is leave something left to rule over? I guess anyway.
he had the wrong handbook. But okay, so but one character that I really did love was Barbara Minerva. I loved Kristen Wiig. I thought she did a phenomenal job. She looked really, really good. Once she got that confidence from Diana, because she stole it. Once she got that confidence, that black lace dress with those shoes, girl, woo, she looked her fashion, and granted, of course, they chose to make her look all nerdy and homey looking in the beginning, but when she gained that confidence and she got sexy and everything like that, I love how she exuded all of that, and how she walked, how she talked. It was such a change from her previous character. I love Kristen Wiig. I think she's a great actress, but she really showed the changes of her character from one scene to the next. So I did love that.
Yeah, I love the transformation. And then when she went into full on cheetah, I was just like, oh, okay. We are going with the tail, the costume, and I got it. And to me, she was the one person, and if you notice, I don't know if anyone else picked up on this, she is the one person who did not renounce their wish. She never renounced. Did you notice that?
They didn't show it.
She never renounced.
So does that mean that she can switch back her face? Because
I don't know if I think ultimately when he renounced, since he was the ultimate spectrum or being, I think when he renounced, it undid everything that he had done. Because, they said, because that was the whole thing. Once you renounce your wish, it undoes it, right? But since he was the catalyst, I think once he renounced it, he actually undid everything that he had done before.
So he would just undo the one where she wished to be an apex predator.
Right? But she never went back to being nerdy Minerva, and she never fully renounced her wish. So I'm just saying that leaves room for her to possibly show up in a sequel.
Don't come back for a sequel. Okay, we need to get out of this decade. Let's go back to present day.
I doubt. Excuse me. I doubt that it is a superhero movie, and if she ages like they do in superhero movies, or like most villains and things in movies, then she could survive to present day. But yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay, that was one of the things I picked up and was like, hey, she didn't actually renounce. And the way they just kind of panned on her a little bit, I'm like, it's one of those things you put in your back pocket and you kind of file away like, oh, sneaky. So what did you think of them? Well, I love the introduction of the invisible jet.
Woo! Wonder Dome, baby.
And
I was so excited when it happened.
Now, you are the Wonder Woman aficionado.
No, I'm not, but go ahead.
You don't like when I say that, and then you just wow us all with your knowledge of the things I say you're an aficionado on, as you proclaim not to be, but okay. Was flying actually one of her legit powers? Was that something they gave her in the movie? Because I'm like, I thought I knew Wonder Woman. Like, I love Wonder Woman, and I'm going to even nerd out and go further and say, yes, I have watched all the Linda Carter episodes from the 70s.
Me too.
So I was like, okay, I know the 40s timeline. And I'm thinking that's maybe why they went back to the 80s and not quite to the 70s, because, pay homage to Linda Carter. Shout out to that mid-credit scene, if those of you who know what I'm talking about. But I was like, yeah. I was like, this is going to make me go pull out my DC encyclopedia of superheroes. Yes, I legit have a superheroes encyclopedia for DC and Marvel. And see, it's like, was that really one of her powers? Like, no wonder her and Superman were bumping up.
No. So I feel what I when I was watching it again and again, and I was watching the scenes, Wonder Woman cannot actually fly, right? Like, that's not one of the powers that she has. She doesn't have the power of flight. But one thing I did see is it's not necessarily of her flying, but her soaring through the sky, right? On kind of letting the wind take her and then just directing her body based on the way the wind is blowing is what I think and that's just because it's not a power that she has. That's what I was thinking, because my sister asked me the exact same thing. She was just like, wait, can she fly? And I said, no. And she's like, so is she flying? And I was just like, well, technically first she was using her she was using her lasso in order to like go around, and she was like, oh, she was catching it on the clouds. And I was just like, yeah. And then she was just like, okay, so why is she flying right now? She was so amazed, and I was just like, I don't know, like the wind is carrying her body.
That's what I was just like. I'm like, yo, dude, she like really flying. I'm like, did Superman pass that on to her? I'm like, oh, but we haven't gotten to the part where her and Superman. And I was like, okay, my bad. Because since Batman officially married Catwoman, that leaves Wonder Woman for Superman.
Superman and Wonder Woman has been together in the alternate universe for a really long time, though.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, maybe that's, it just transferred, but she learned a few things.
No.
Maybe. Never mind, let me stop.
I thought it was more on her soaring through the sky, based on the wind blowing and her just directing her body and just kind of just, using that rather than her actually having the power of flight. Because that's not something that she actually has, unless they're going to change it. But I feel like they shouldn't do that, just because that's a major change to Wonder Woman. And then why would she need her jet? Why would she need Wonder Dome?
Well, maybe for special effects purposes, it's cheaper to have her fly.
Wonder Dome was so cool, though.
It was so cool
when she like had it.
It really was.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, the invisible jet.
And then she's like, my father had this thing for all this time, so let me see. And he was like, does it work? I don't know. I've only done a coffee cup, and then it broke or something. She said it reappeared.
And then she lost it. She didn't know where it disappeared to, and she never found it.
So I was like, oh, okay. But I did like, now one thing I must admit, when I heard that Chris Pine was coming back as Steve Trevor, I was kind of like, what the hell? I must admit, I did like the way they brought him back.
I did. But how old did that dude look, though? He looking like he was
Chris Palua or who? Chris Pine? Well, dude, he'd been dead for 50 years, 40 years.
They know they could have dyed his gray hair or something. He looked so old in this movie. I was like, oh my God, why they got him looking so old? And then the dude that he took over looking younger, I was just like, oh, you don't do that to Trevor.
Well, Steve Trevor probably would have been like 70, 80 years old by then, but anyway. So I was amazed at how they brought him back, and I did like it, and and it was really cool how we saw Chris Pine, even though he was in Chris Palua's body. Chris Palua, I hope I'm saying his name right, is one of my favorite actors. He's a great character actor and things like that. He even had a few of his own shows, but I digress. But I love how the reason why we saw him as Chris Pine, she said, because I only see you. She's like, when he looked in the mirror, he was the guy she took over. And she said, how do I look? And she's like, I only see you. So we always saw him through her eyes, which he looked the way he did. So I thought that was neat. And I'm glad they got their time together, but they need to leave Steve Trevor after this one alone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were able to bang it out a couple times. So I feel like she should be good now. like we're gonna need to move on from that now.
And I hope she heard him when he said, "Move on with your life, love again." I want you to love.
She also said, "I will never love again."
Yeah, until Superman comes along and takes her on that mountain high.
Well, hey, I mean, both of them lose the love of their lives. Somebody got to replace them. But yeah, no, I will say that I agree with you on him showing up. I liked how it happened, and I loved their scenes together, but I also loved like the ending scene, right, on how heartbroken she was. Like when she was fighting Cheetah in the White House, and Cheetah said, what did you give up? Look at how you're looking right now. Like, I can tell what you gave up. Like, you can't even fight me really because of what you gave, what your wish was, And then to go from there on how broken down she looked because she was refusing to give him up because she just loved him so much. And then in the end, she ended up having to. And I love that. Like, I loved their relationship. I think they still had great chemistry. But I love the progression of her finally having to give him up, and then her automatically healing when she denounced her wish and moving on, moving forward. So it was real sad.
She never looked back. Yeah. I love the fact that she never looked back.
But she was just like, she pushed forward. She pushed forward. And it was kind of on knowing that she didn't regret her decision. By not looking back is letting us know she didn't regret her decision. Like, she knew what she had to do and she did it because that's who she is, because she's Wonder Woman. But so I definitely loved that.
Yeah, I like the scene at the end where they had her and where she ran into the guy whose body he had taken over.
He was wearing the outfit.
And he was dressed in that. Yeah, the outfit. He was like, I would never wear this. And she's like, I love your outfit. He's like, yeah, my friends kind of hate it, but it's kind of cool, huh? I think there's just something about it. And I'm like, Yeah, that was peak 80s fashion. I
But
get
it
it,
looked so
but
cute on him, though.
it did. And so it was just kind of like, I was like, oh, would that be a creepy love match considering she's technically already had
You
him
felt that
several
vibe,
times?
right? You got that vibe a little bit?
I did too. And I was just like, oh. And Steve told you he was a good guy. He basically gave you his blessing. But it was fun. It was cute in some ways, and there were some things that I just, I was like, oh, okay, we can kind of move on from this. But I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it.
And I will agree with you on that. I would say that, of course, it's not better than the first one. The first one just has a special place for me. I was still.
Did you name the first one movie of the year in 2017? Was it your 2017 movie of the year? Oh, my bad. That sounded a little snarky.
Y'all heard that, right? Y'all heard that, right? Okay, just making sure I wasn't the only one that heard that. But yes, it was my movie of the year because it was Wonder Woman. Okay, when did Aquaman come out?
2017.
That's a lie.
No,
2018. Aquaman was my movie of the year, even though it came out in December.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Let me guess. It was just because of Jason Momoa. Well, Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Any movie.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Even in that stupid Aquaman costume, he still look good. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Moving on.
Lisa Bonet, may the Lord have mercy on you. Lenny Kravitz, Jason Momoa, Lord have mercy.
God bless her for being able to go on with that.
Pass down your secrets, Mama. Pass them down.
But
write a book. I know you're a very private person, but she needs to write a book.
Of how she got that?
Anyway.
Oh goodness. Anyway, I'm sorry. Wonder Woman.
We digress.
Wonder Woman. Okay, so I will say that I did have a favorite scene, and it's funny because when I was talking to my friend, and she was just like, "Wait, how is that your favorite scene?" Like it was the beginning of the movie, but my favorite scene where like I got really excited, and I was like, "Oh my god!" was in the mall when she did the slide and kick. Do you remember that? Like, that was my favorite scene. Like, I made my sister rewind. I was like, can you rewind that? Let's play that again. And then I said, ooh, just one more time. Just one more time. She was just like, no. And I was like, come on. Just one more time. I just want to see the sliding kick. Just a sliding kick. I got real excited about that. Because I felt like it was really cool, but it was also like old school in a way. I don't know. So that was my favorite scene. Was the mall scene.
Oh, okay. I was like, why? I thought there was gonna be something special about the slide kick that I missed, but
it was real. Like,
okay.
It was just natural. It was Wonder Woman. Like, I think, sometimes we can think of this as in you got to be real extra, right? And you have to. You got to do that new age stuff, but I feel like it was very old school and just real. It was Wonder Woman. So unfortunately, not unfortunately, but that was my favorite scene. I was like, oh shoot, this is Wonder Woman. That's my girl. Go ahead, girl. Kick their butts. Kick them.
Yeah, mine was when they were discovering the 80s, when Steve was just like discovering life in the 80s, and
the
just
escalator.
From him the clothes and the fashion.
I just say how I wanted him to fall down the escalator.
And then they're walking by in the art, and she goes, "That's just a trash can." Oh yeah, right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, but so all in all, we know that it's going to get a third one. We know the third one has been greenlit. DC announced a very ambitious plan to release their next few movies. No word about HBO Max so far. I have to, go a little bit more in depth to see if they're going to do with HBO Max. But so we know it's getting a third one. We both say that it should be out of the 80s, and I think this one should probably come to modern times too. I think we should show present day Wonder Woman fully, especially after we've seen Justice League, the Snyder Cut, the way it was supposed to be done. And I think we deserve to see modern Wonder Woman fight on her own without the Justice League, without Batman, without Superman, how she would hold her own in the modern world. That's just my opinion on that one. But how would you? So, what would you rate it realistically?
5
Take your bias out.
I'm just joking. Not 5 popcorns.
I was about to say, God dang, that's the first time you ever given anything more than 4 popcorn. Shit.
No. The old guard got like 4.5. But
oh yeah.
Okay.
So does it beat out the old guard?
So honestly, it does not beat out the old guard. I will be honest and say that it is still going to be my movie of the year. Because it's Wonder Woman, and that's just my thing. Like, I love her. I was most excited about this movie coming out. I was so sad that I had to wait an additional 6 months because it was supposed to come out in June, and I had to wait until Christmas for this movie.
Fucking Rona.
For this movie to come out. But even the anticipation of those 6 months, like I was excited for 6 months waiting for her. Like, I was excited since it was announced that a second one was coming out for her to premiere. And I was excited even after watching it. I was just like, oh my God, yes, I started clapping. Like, so I am going to give it, and this is me being unbiased, I am going to give Wonder Woman 1984 4.5 popcorns. And just because it's one thing is Wonder Woman. So just being Wonder Woman alone is getting her at least 4 popcorns. But the other half is just for the things that I loved about it. The fashion. Gal Gadot, once again, is a perfect casting for Wonder Woman. I have been satisfied both movies. Well, for all the movies that she's been in as Wonder Woman, she does a phenomenal job as Wonder Woman. And so I don't think, it wasn't a bad cast to have Gal Gadot. So yeah, I'm gonna give 4.5 popcorns because it's Wonder Woman and I love her. She's awesome. What about you?
If I'm gonna keep it real here, which I have to do, keep it real, I'm gonna give it 3.75 popcorns. Yeah, I was struggling between the 4 and the 3, but it was okay. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I did recommend it to friends. They'd ask me, and I said, "Yeah, watch it. It's good. You'll enjoy it." And they did. And but there were just some issues I couldn't overcome with it. But again, I liked more of it than I disliked. Again, I love, like you said, Gal Gadot. She has proven to be a phenomenal Wonder Woman over the years, and she was perfectly cast. Now, if only they can do the same thing and find a fucking Batman.
What are you talking about? Robert Pattinson?
But we won't talk about that.
No?
We'll see. We will see.
I think he'd be a great Bruce Wayne.
If he can. Yeah. But, Ben Affleck was a great Bruce Wayne, a horrible Batman. But, so anyway, we digress. We really will have to do our superhero episode and just talk about the whole
yes,
thing.
Let's put that on the calendar. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We've made it through our first episode of 2021. Woo-hoo! Season 2, episode 1 is in the books. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in next week when we will be talking about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Does Chadwick Boseman live up to the hype? So until next time,
and I'm Tammy. Bye. Hope you enjoyed this week's popcorn review. Don't forget to visit us at thepopcornwinedown.com for your daily dose of pop culture.